where we will be listening to the story, A Royal Affair Under the Stars. I grew up surrounded by grandeur, golden halls, glittering chandeliers, and gardens that stretched farther than the eye could see. People bowed when I entered a room, their whispers falling silent like a wave. But none of it ever felt like mine. I was Princess Alara of Valtherus, heir to a throne I never asked for. My days were a blur of lessons in diplomacy, etiquette, and royal duty. My nights were quieter, but lonelier. The weight of my crown, though still metaphorical, pressed heavy on me. Until the night I met him. It was the Festival of Lanterns, the one night a year when the castle gates opened, and the townsfolk mingled with the nobility under the glow of thousands of floating lights. I'd escaped the watchful eyes of my guards, eager for a moment of freedom, and found myself in the outskirts of the celebration, near the old stone bridge. That's where I saw him. He was lying on his back, arms folded behind his head, staring at the sky. A telescope was propped beside him, its brass glinting in the lantern light. "You're missing the festival," I said, stepping closer. He sat up, startled, and for a moment, his eyes met mine. They were the color of the sky before a storm, deep and unpredictable. "I could say the same about you," he replied, a playful smile tugging at his lips. "I am exploring," I said, unable to come up with a better excuse. "Well, then, Princess Explorer," he teased, gesturing to the grass beside him, "care to join me? The stars put on a better show than any lantern." His audacity startled me. He didn't bow, didn't treat me like porcelain. He didn't even ask my name. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't a princess, I was just Alara. His name was Kale. He was an apprentice to the kingdom's astronomer, though he dreamed of one day mapping the stars himself. Night after night, I found reasons to slip away from the castle and meet him under the bridge. He'd point out constellations, tell me their stories, and I'd listen, captivated. "You have the whole kingdom at your feet," he said once, "but you seem more interested in what's above your head." "Maybe the stars don't demand anything from me," I replied. "They just are." With Kale, I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to be anything but myself. It couldn't last, of course. Secrets never do. One evening, as Kale was showing me how to sketch a star chart, a patrol of guards found us. "Princess," one of them exclaimed, their shock quickly replaced by anger. "You're supposed to be at the banquet." Kale froze, realization dawning in his eyes. "Princess," he whispered, looking at me as if I were a stranger. I was going to tell you," I stammered. "You lied to me," he said, standing abruptly. "I thought we were friends." "We are," I insisted. "Kale, please," but he shook his head, gathering his telescope and walking away without another word. Days turned into weeks, and I didn't see him again. The loneliness I'd felt before meeting Kale returned tenfold. I missed his laugh, his stories, the way he made the world feel less heavy. My father, oblivious to my heartbreak, arranged a grand ball to celebrate an upcoming treaty. It was yet another reminder of my duty, of the life I couldn't escape. That night, as I stood on the palace balcony, gazing at the stars, I heard a familiar voice. "You're looking in the wrong place," Kale said softly. I turned, my breath catching. He was dressed simply, a stark contrast to the opulence around us, but he held his head high. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. "I couldn't stay away," he admitted. "Not from you." Kale's perspective, when I first saw her that night under the bridge, I didn't know she was a princess. I just saw a girl, curious, kind, and unlike anyone I'd ever met. Finding out the truth hurt, but not because of who she was. It hurt because I thought I'd lost her. But standing there on that balcony, seeing the way she looked at me, I realized something. The stars weren't just above us, they were in her eyes, her smile, her every word. "Alara," I said, taking her hand, "I don't care about titles or crowns. I care about you." Her smile was like the dawn breaking over the horizon. "I don't want to be just a princess," she said. "I want to be yours." And in that moment, I knew we could build a world together, one where the stars belonged to both of us. The end. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, like, comment, share and subscribe.